All right, picture this. You've got a modern home, and it's chewing through 30 kilowatt hours of power every single day. That is serious, heavy-duty energy. We're not talking about a little weekend cabin with a couple of LED lights and a mini fridge here. No, we are talking about running air conditioners, refrigerators, deep well water pumps, the whole shebang. And this is exactly the point where standard DIY solar advice completely falls apart. When you're managing this much power, you need real, rigorous engineering math. So, in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how to properly size a system of this massive magnitude, step by step.
Which brings us to a pretty alarming question. Is your 30 kilowatt-hour solar math dangerously wrong? Honestly, it probably is. Standard online advice usually stops at basic addition and completely misses some absolutely critical safety gaps. People calculate their panel wattage incorrectly. They vastly underestimate their battery storage needs. They flat out ignore inverter losses. And perhaps most dangerously, they completely underestimate just how much continuous DC current is flowing through a large 48-volt battery bank. Listen, treating a 30 kilowatt-hour system like it's just a scaled-up 12-volt RV setup, that is a literal recipe for system failure, or much worse.
So, here's our definitive engineering blueprint for today. First, the 30 kilowatt-hour target. Second, sizing the array. Third, battery storage. Fourth, inverters and DC current. And finally, system safety.
Section 1. The 30 kilowatt-hour energy target.
Okay, let's dive into this. Before we buy a single panel or a single battery, we have to deeply understand the daily load. The foundation of our entire system rests on one super simple formula. Energy equals power multiplied by time. It's like a giant puzzle. You start by determining the total wattage of an appliance, estimating its realistic runtime, and calculating the daily watt hours. So if you've got a 300-watt appliance and it runs for 5 hours a day, that is 1,500 watt-hours or 1.5 kilowatt-hours. When you tally up absolutely every load in the home, the AC, the well pump, the router, the lights, you eventually hit our target, 30,000 watt-hours, every single 24-hour cycle.
But right out of the gate, here is where the first massive mistake happens. Standard, simplified advice often just looks at daytime loads, when the sun is actually shining. But real engineering demands that we look at the full 24-hour cycle. 30,000 watt-hours isn't just what the appliances use. It has to account for nighttime consumption when the panels are totally dark. It has to account for the phantom power the inverter itself consumes just by being turned on. And it absolutely must factor in charging reserves. Remember, you aren't just powering the house, you're powering the house and refilling a massive battery bank at the exact same time.
Section 2. Sizing the solar array.
Now that we know we need a rock-solid 30,000 watt-hours, we need an array that can actually generate it. And this brilliantly illustrates why we can never, ever trust laboratory ratings. Notice the breakdown here. Only about 80% of what your panels are rated for actually makes it to your appliances as usable power. You're losing roughly 10% to inverter conversion and cable resistance right off the top. Then you lose another 10% to everyday environmental realities, like heat derating and dust building up on the panels. If you just assume 100% efficiency, your system is going to chronically underperform, guaranteed.
So, let's crunch the numbers. We take our 30,000 watt-hour daily load, and we divide it by our available sunlight, assuming an average of, say, 5 peak sun hours, and multiplying that by our 80% system efficiency factor, the math gives us a 7,500 watt requirement, meaning strictly on paper, we need a 7.5 kilowatt array. But, and this is a huge but, this is just the theoretical minimum.
In the real world, designing exactly to that theoretical 7.5 kilowatt minimum is actually really dangerous for your system's health. Why? Because of real-world derating factors. You are going to have cloudy days. You're going to have seasonal variations where the sun angle drops. And most importantly, think about this. If you get 3 straight days of rain, your battery is going to be heavily depleted. When the sun finally comes back out, a bare minimum array will only generate enough power to run the house. It won't have any overhead left over to quickly recharge that massive battery bank. That leads to chronic low battery states, which just completely destroys battery life. Because of that, the true, safe engineering recommendation for a 30 kilowatt-hour day home is actually an 8 to 10 kilowatt solar array. Stepping up to 8,000 or 10,000 watts of solar gives you that vital overhead. It ensures that even after a nasty stretch of poor weather, your system can handle the home's loads and push a complete healthy recovery charge straight into your battery bank.
Moving on to Section 3. Battery storage and lifespan. Let's talk about the literal heart of the system. Let me be incredibly clear right away. For a 30 kilowatt-hour daily load, a 48-volt battery system is absolutely mandatory. So let's look at the theoretical math for our storage.
To convert our 30,000 watt-hours of daily energy into amp-hours, we divide by our system voltage. 30,000 divided by 48 volts gives us roughly 625 amp-hours. So you might be thinking, awesome, I'll go buy a 48-volt, 625 amp-hour battery bank and call it a day. But once again, that is just the math for the usable energy.
We have to correct that expectation immediately, because if you push your batteries to their absolute limit every single day, you are going to ruin them. Even with premium lithium iron phosphate batteries, we absolutely must respect the 80% depth of discharge limit. You should literally never drain these massive banks to zero. Planning for an 80% maximum discharge protects the total cycle life, it stops high internal heating, and it dramatically reduces the stress on the battery management system. If we take our 30,000 watt-hours and divide it by 0.8 to give us that necessary buffer, the minimum absolute bank size jumps up to 37.5 kilowatt-hours. But again, we don't build to minimums. The final engineering reality for battery storage is this. You really should be installing a 40 to 60 kilowatt-hour battery bank. Now, this isn't about luxury. This is about system autonomy. A larger bank gives you that essential cloudy day reserve power, meaning you aren't going to lose power during a big storm. And crucially, by spreading the load over a larger bank, each individual cell works far less, which vastly improves the overall lifespan of your expensive batteries. It's a total game changer.
Section 4. Inverters and DC current.
Converting that stored DC battery power into usable AC power for your house requires some heavy lifting. You'll need an 8 to 12 kilowatt pure sine wave inverter to handle simultaneous surge loads, like your AC kicking on while the well pump's running. But check out the current draw math here. If you have a 5 kilowatt load running through a 48 volt inverter, it draws roughly 104 amps from the battery. But if you have a 10 kilowatt load, which is super common in a home of this size, that inverter is pulling over 200 amps of continuous DC current. 200 amps. That is a massive, highly dangerous amount of electrical current. This is exactly why 12-volt systems are impossible here. At 12 volts, that exact same load would pull over 800 amps. That would literally melt standard cables.
Which brings us right into Section 5, System Architecture and Safety.
When you're dealing with hundreds of amps of continuous DC current, picking your hardware literally becomes a life or death decision. Let me tell you exactly what happens when internet math ignores this reality. If your copper cables are even slightly undersized, they just become heating elements, creating an immediate fire risk. If your terminals aren't torqued down perfectly, the resistance causes them to get hot enough to melt wire insulation. If you use cheap generic DC breakers, a high current arc can actually weld the breaker shut on the inside, meaning it's going to fail to trip exactly when you need it most. And if you stuff these massive inverters in a hot, poorly ventilated closet, thermal derating is going to throttle your power output dramatically.
So to safely secure a system of this magnitude, you have to follow an exact, professional-grade protection strategy. You absolutely need correctly sized copper cables, no cutting corners whatsoever. You need professional, hydraulic crimps on all your lugs. You must invest in high-quality, name-brand DC breakers. And for a huge lithium bank that is fully capable of dumping thousands of amps in a short-circuit scenario, Class T fuses are non-negotiable. Seriously, they are the only things fast enough to interrupt a catastrophic DC dead short.
If you take away absolutely nothing else from this explainer, let it be this exact quote, directly from our source material. A correctly designed solar system is not just about making power, it's about safely managing energy every single day. True engineering math isn't just about making sure your TV turns on. It is about building a system with the correct safety margins, derating calculations, and protection hardware so that it operates with safe, rock-solid reliability for decades.
Well, we've walked through the math, the vital safety protocols, and the true engineering reality of a 30 kilowatt-hour system. Now I want you to really think about the trade-offs we just discussed. If you were building this exact system for your home today, what would you prioritize? Would you aim for lower upfront cost, maximum off-grid autonomy during a massive storm, or maximum long-term battery lifespan? You can't have all three perfectly, so what really matters most for your own energy security? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and definitely keep exploring the math behind the power.